if you're a good person with money, you can do a lot more than a good person without money. If
For sure.
you're a bad person with money, you can do a lot more negative as well. It's just like, it's almost the exact same thing as taking leverage on a deal. If it's a bad deal, it turns into a terrible deal. If it's a great
Yeah.
deal, it looks even better, man. You're listening to the Lever Up Your Life podcast. Each episode, I bring on guests to share their strategies and secrets for leveraging their knowledge, resources, and contacts to lever up their lives. We unpack real-world numbers, mistakes, and wins so you can flip faster, borrow smarter, and build wealth with confidence. Let's dive in. I just got done having a conversation with Justin. There were a lot of things that I didn't know about his history, his past. And I will say that Justin is somebody that I have admired and respected a lot in just how laser focused he is about what he wants out of his life and what that means about how it is that he needs to go about his day to day, and beyond just business, quote unquote, success, making money, what actually the three different legs of that pursuit is for what people don't realize that they want when they're chasing money and they leave behind. Justin has an incredible story. I find it extremely motivational and exciting. He's going to talk about his book, The Deliberate Blueprint, which I'm excited to read when it comes out in April. You better take out some notes because there are a lot of great takeaways from this episode. Tune in. It's a good one. We're back for another episode of the Lever Up Your Life show, where I bring on guests to share their strategies and secrets for leveraging their knowledge, resources, and contacts to lever up their lives. I'm bringing on a friend of mine, someone I've personally done business with, personally respect to a high degree, Justin Pickering. Welcome to the show, my friend. How are you?
I'm doing well, man. Thanks for having me on.
Of course. And if you're watching this, this is not going to make any sense for context, but the Raven shirt is kind of a bold move, man.
Yeah, there's a little bit of a collapse on Monday or on Sunday night, but they're still the best team.
I love it, man. Hey, no Super Bowls are won in September, that's for sure. So, I know I'd kind of shared this with you as we were getting onto the show of what it is we're looking to accomplish here, but I intentionally look to bring people on that I've seen them lever up their lives, go from a place that's not where they are now. And for you, my question would be like, where did this whole journey for you begin, where you started to really transform your life through real estate and mentorship? Like, how did you get started in this?
I think it's important that we go back to the beginning. Like, I think people's childhoods have a major effect on them. Most people would tell you to read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and I'm not saying you shouldn't. It's a great book. My book, though, when I coach people in real estate, what I tell them is you should read The Psychology of Money. That book means a lot to me. It really shapes how you think about money, right? And why you make the choices about money that you make. So my choices were, rooted in my childhood. We grew up very poor, living in a trailer house. I had two other brothers. We slept in a twin bed together until we were way too old. And we were taught that by our mom that money was bad and people with money were bad.
Yeah.
And then we were taught by my dad that, the Rich Dad, Poor Dad, he was the poor dad, where it's, hey, you work for 50 years and then you can retire. So those were kind of my basis for money, right? And then I entered the world and you start to find out that there's got to be a better way. So I actually began in the stock market. I still invest in the stock market. I really enjoyed stocks, but I clearly had no understanding of them. Quick story. I can remember seeing Lockheed Martin in 2008, and I had a couple thousand to put in the stock market, and I was all excited. I saw that stock. I'm like, this is a very good stock, but it's so expensive, because I didn't understand what I was doing. And I can remember I went and bought a different stock. I don't remember what at the time, but fast forward like 15 years from now, if I'd have just put my money there, my life would have been much different, right? So a lot of lessons learned in understanding money and understand what's expensive, and then is it expensive or is it worth it, right?
Right.
But yeah, so I I did serve 20 years in the military. I actually retire officially on September 17th. I'm on my terminal leave right now.
Dang, dude.
So
That's
I'm
coming
7 days out. Yeah. And I think we're going to talk about this later, but I'll tell you how I got started in real estate. You know, I'm probably the classic story of I like podcasts. I started listening to Bigger Pockets.
Yeah.
But what drove me to action was actually my wife. She wanted to do it, and when she wanted to do it, kind of gave me some confidence that, you know, maybe we should take a look at this. We'll do our first deal analysis, I think, later in the show, but I would say doing a B quadruple R is what got me started. That's what got me very interested in real estate, and then understanding how, as my income increased in the military, how I could use long-term rentals to, you know, lower my taxes.
Dude, for sure. That what did you say? B quadruple R? I've never heard someone say that before.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, it's
yeah,
a very common term.
I was like, wait, did I mishear you? Oh, a burr. I got
Burr,
you.
yeah, B quadruple R, yeah.
That's crazy.
I got you.
You know what's funny about the whole stock market thing? So I'm leveraged to the max. I'm about to be. I bought like what I think is a home run deal a couple months ago, and then I got brought what is for sure a home run deal. I mean, as for sure as you can be, right, before you actually get into a deal. You know how that goes. But so on one of them, me and my partner are both like, oh, dude, like he's got 2 projects going. I'm about to have another one going. I was like, man, who's going to pay which contractor? And then he texted me this morning and he's like, hey, do you see what happened with Oracle? I was like, oh, maybe he's like stocks fell and like that's going to put downward pressure on rates. Like, all right. It's like, dude, I made 50 grand last night. Oracle went up 40% today. It's like, dude, why do you even have all of your money in Oracle for one? But also, like, all right, you get to pay the contractors the rest.
Actually,
crazy, man.
I made $40,000 off a Canadian solar stock back when Obama was president. You know,
Really?
not to turn this into a stock show, but you know, if you follow politics and you follow world events, there are a lot of indicators on what you should be investing in. I'm not saying it's a 100% success, but I've been very successful in the stock market just following politics. Again, I was in special forces, so following politics and world events is something I had to do anyway. So it kind of gave me a leg up on you know, keeping up with stocks.
So let's actually follow that pathway. So you mentioned like, you know, growing up, your family was kind of like money. If you have money, you're probably not a great person, and work till you can retire and then you can chill. After you graduate, did you just go right into the military at that point, thinking like, well, they offer a good retirement and benefits?
No, a lot of people don't know this part of my story because I don't tell it often because it's one of the less successful parts of my journey. But one, I wanted to join the military my whole life. That was always my plan. I remember from a young age, at career day, telling the teacher that I want to join the military. But first, I walked on and I played college football at Texas Tech University. Played is you can put that in quotations. I made the team. I was redshirted my freshman year, and then I was academically ineligible my second year. My life was kind of going nowhere, so I went ahead and joined the military at 20.
Dang. What,
Yeah.
if you don't mind me asking, like you just like weren't taking life serious, or?
I hated life. I had a chip on my shoulder, man. I look back at it and I was just so dumb. My life has changed because my mindset has changed. I look back at, and this is kind of getting into my book that we're going to talk about later, but my mom was married 5 times. If, there was a time in my life where that was tough on me. I look back on it now and I had 5 different men in my life that taught me something different, right? So there's a positive spin on just about, every input that comes in, there's a positive spin that you can output. And it took me just many years to grow up and realize that how fortunate I really am. Um, that I was focusing on the wrong things. I wasn't, um, yeah, I wasn't focusing on the right things.
Yeah. Okay. So leave Texas Tech, you go into the military, and then like what changes at that point? Are you like, is there a certain point in time where you're like, there's got to be more than this, or what kind of got you off of the track that you were pretty much set on from your childhood?
Oh, it took a while. I would say 9 or 10 years. I don't know if there was a specific event. Um, I was doing well with money, but it was very slow and savings oriented. I have my own Roth IRA, like doing the basics. The real estate was actually more my wife. I mean, my wife is the one that really wanted to do the BRRRR.
The B quadruple.
I was in her
baby.
the B quadruple R. So, but yeah, I was listening to the podcast and I was educated on it, and I it was after that first BRRRR where it was really like, okay, not only can we can do this, but this is really helpful. Again, especially when now we're starting to talk long-term wealth and not following the traditional retirement path of
Yeah.
work 40 years, get a pension, and then maybe or maybe not you get Social Security towards the end, right?
Yeah.
So
I mean, maybe not is underlined in
Yeah.
bold.
yeah, and it may sound weird to you, but like I honestly didn't think I was going to live this long.
Wow.
I had I've been to combat 6 times. I didn't need to do a whole lot of long-term planning. I was doing that more for my family, but after my last trip to Afghanistan is when we started this, and I think that's when I really started to realize it's like, hey, I've made it through all this and I'm still going.
Yeah. Like
My dad's
time for
really,
plan B. I actually made it, guys.
yeah. But no, I would say there was a long time in my life where I planned on not making it back from combat. And I know that probably sounds dark to you, but understanding a warrior's mentality and mindset, that's how we are. I didn't go over there expecting to come back necessarily. So perspective changed as I got older. My kids got older. I realized what I was missing in life. And it definitely helped me focus. But as far as real estate specific, I got to give the credit to my wife. She's the one that really like nudged me in that direction. And then of course I took off with it because that's how I am with everything, right? Is that I'm going to do it. We're going to do it.
Yeah. What year was that first BRRRR?
2019.
Yeah, that's a pretty good time to do it, man. Pretty good time.
Yeah, and we can break that deal down later, but it was a textbook BRRRR that really was the launching board for everything we've done since.
Yeah. So one thing that I noticed, at least I think I noticed, maybe this is a different Instagram account for you, but I was just prepping for our podcast and I was looking at some of your stuff and I was like, oh, did you just change your name to the Deliberate Blueprint for your Instagram tag? And so I wanted to ask you about that, and like that's some very specific and I think intentional wording. So I just wanted to ask, like, what does that mean to you and why the change?
Yeah, for sure. So I did start a separate coaching business called the Deliberate Blueprint. Like I said, I do leadership coaching and I do real estate coaching. But why that name? It comes from the coaching, and I talk to so many different people, and the most common thing I see is investors love shiny objects. I did too.
Same, bro.
Yeah, in the stock market, you're looking for the next ticker that's going to explode. In real estate, somebody just told me the story the other day. He's like, man, this guy made $600,000, doing this. And then I started asking questions, and it was like, well, no, he doesn't have any systems or processes. It just happened. And I've been investing for a long time. Like I said, in real estate since 19, but in stock market since 2008. And I don't think this is an opinion. I think what I'm telling you is correct. There's only one strategy that works, and that's consistency over time.
Yep.
I think everything else is a guess. So that's why I built the deliberate blueprint. I think the word deliberate is the mindset, because I don't think anything happens. I don't think that kind of growth happens by accident.
Yeah.
And then I think blueprint is the system.
Yeah.
It's the repeatable processes that remove that guesswork. And then, of course, you have time as the multiplier. And when you combine mindset, system, and time, you have compounding results.
Almost inevitably.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. I will speak to the shiny object syndrome because that probably took me a full 3 years of being in real estate before that went away. And when I look around, I think that's pretty common, especially if someone gets lucky. Like first deal success happens pretty often where, I'll come across, I work with a lot of new investors, you do as well. And I'll see some people, this is a banger deal, lock it up right away. You're going to make a lot of money on this no matter how bad you mess it up. But a lot of times people get that check and they're just like, oh, while I was doing this deal, I heard of all these other ways to make money. And the more I've learned, like in the last 2 years, I've learned about all these weird niches and opportunities and things in real estate. And I was like, oh my God, there's so much money to make, or so many ways to make money and like build a cool business in so many different avenues. Like I actually, like it's hard to believe knowing how many different ways there are to make money. Like, dude, I've got a who's going to make $200K a year as a notary. Like, I mean, it's crazy. Like you can build a business in so many different ways, but I agree that learning what you're good at, what you enjoy, you got to lock in and focus on it because it'll take time to master. I do remember the first conversation that we had and you had told me, I don't remember the deal exactly, but in my mind, I just remember thinking like, dang, bro, this guy just smoked his first deal and has a bunch of money to start fix and flipping with from it. But that's like the only details I have in my mind from it. So I'm just curious what the actual full story is now that I got you captive.
I'm wondering if we're talking two separate deals, right? Are you talking about my farm or are you talking about my actual first deal?
I think it was a farm. I remember it being something.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So I did buy land in 2014. Back to this deliberate mindset, people will say, you got lucky. And I would disagree. I looked for land for 2 years. I saved for land for 5 years. It was very deliberate and I was patient and I waited for the right opportunity. Funny story is I actually went and looked at a different piece of land and I got lost. I made a wrong turn. I ended up driving by a sign that said, for sale, 45. It was actually like 67 acres. And it said there was like a bank in Oregon. I thought that was weird. So I called them and I said, hey, I'm interested in this land. I said, but be honest with you, I'm only interested in 45 of it. There was 3 different parcels. I just wanted to buy 2 of the 3. And I said, my offer is 120,000. This is 45 acres, right? So I assumed they were going to laugh and hang up on me, but they said, thank you. We'll let you know in 24 hours. Sure enough, man, the next day I get a call saying, we've accepted your offer. And I'm like, oh crap. I got to go figure all this out now, right? So we ended up, closing on the property 30 days later. I knew that property was worth a lot. I knew it was going to, even when I bought it, like the bank didn't even make me put any money down because they were like, how did you get this for 120,000? This is worth 600,000 as is. So yeah, I mean, we just kind of, you could say I got lucky, or you could say that I spent 2 years looking, and I spent 5 years saving, right? So I was in a position to afford this property, right? Now we did go ahead and build a house on it, and we used it as a farm and a tax write-off for many years. As I retired from the military, we decided it was time to move home. So I actually sold it to a developer for over $1 million, and we made, you know, obviously we made a lot off that. But my first actual deal was a burr, and we bought that one for 48,000.
Where
We did it
where at?
in Crestview.
Okay.
Crestview,
I
Florida.
mean,
Same town.
if I
Same
had
town
to
as this
guess,
land.
it was going to be Crestview, but you know,
Yeah.
I'm not going to assume.
No, it's good. So we did a $48,000 purchase. This was back in 2019. We didn't even have an LLC at the time, right? It was just me going to do so. I did it under my own name. So we did a conventional renovation loan, $60,000. So we're 108 in. So after all closing costs, everything, we're 108 in.
Okay.
It appraised at 200. We did the 70% LTV refi. So that was at 140.
Yep.
So we cash out, what is that, 32,000?
Yeah, 32,000, and then maybe you knock off. I'm sure you had a couple $1,000 of closing costs, appraisal, stuff like that. But
yeah, so the best part is we're renting it out for $1,500 a month, and the mortgage was $550.
Yeah.
So we have about $800 of cash flow, plus I made $32,000. And the cool thing about that money, as you know, is it's a loan, so it's not taxed as income. That's one of the coolest things about a BRRRR. If you can pull money out of it and still have cash flow on the rental, I mean, you win in so many ways. It's why it's one of the best strategies. It's definitely harder to do in today's market. At least in Northwest Florida, there's not a whole lot of BRRRR opportunities that I've run into. But I know like the Midwest is still doing really well with BRRRRs, and there's some other pockets in the United States.
Yeah, I think Florida, I think the area that you're doing deals in Florida is easier for rentals than like Tampa Bay Metro. But I only know a few people that are still like actively, BRRRR's my strategy, and they have a tough time hitting that DSCR minimum and getting that leverage. But the one thing I've kind of noticed, because I underwrite a lot of these, for it to be that type of BRRRR, at least for like an ARV that's, 300,000 to 400,000, where you're actually getting money out, it's probably going to underwrite as a 6-figure profit flip. Like it needs to be a really juicy deal to actually walk away, no money into the deal at all, not even your holding costs, get a check from the lender at close. Like it's got to be a banging deal. And they do exist, right? But for obvious reasons, everybody wants $30K tax-free, $800 cash flow a month, and write off your taxes.
Yeah, it's a win-win-win-win situation. And unfortunately, it's not as relevant in today's market. But I think this is still a good strategy to know and understand, because markets work in cycles. There'll be another BRRRR cycle in the next 5 years. It'll happen.
Yep. Agreed. Agreed. Especially, I think that there's going to be like, you could call it a lucky window, or you could call it deliberately preparing for what we know is going to come. But there is going to be a time threshold, and I think it might even be starting right now, where people are going to be buying deals priced at today's interest rate, have that 6 to 12 months before they refi, and then be refinancing into a lower rate, which means prices are going to be adjusting accordingly. So higher appraised value, better cash flow because of a lower rate. I don't know exactly when that is, but I think we're coming up on that type of window, and it's going to be a pretty short window too. For sure, less than a year long time, and it's going to be hard to time, but I think that's maybe even starting right now.
That's why I said you shouldn't time it right. Consistency over time, right?
Yes.
You should always be investing.
Yes.
And then you can't miss the opportunity, right? You won't ever look back on yourself and say, man, I wish I would have invested then. You should have just been investing the whole time.
Yeah. Not timing the market, but your time in the market. And then you'll inevitably hit those really sweet spots when they happen. And you should be still surviving when the market's been down, like I would say the last 2 years. I did want to move on and you mentioned that two people that I know. I don't know Bill very well. I do know Adam Whitney pretty well, but I know that their community, Adam Whitney and Bill Allen's, their 7-figure flipping was a key piece of your journey for levering up your life. And I'm just wondering if you're able to share how their mentorship changed your life, what you found important about coaching and community, and really what that, like, where that community brought you, how much stuff you're still doing with them today.
Yeah, for sure. I think before I go down that road, I want to talk about, I think it's important to start out with the importance of coaching, and the need for a coach. Michael Jordan had a coach. You know, Steph Curry is arguably the best shooter to ever play basketball. He has a coach. I was actually coaching somebody the other day, and as we were ending the call, she said, "Justin, I have one more question for you. You know, when you were in my shoes and just starting, what's one thing you would have done different?" And my answer to her was, you know, I don't think there is something I would do different. But I can tell you something I did right. And it's I got a coach, right? And I think that's where 7-figure flipping comes along, right? You know, and how they've been instrumental. I am still with 7-figure flipping. I'm actually coaching for them now as well. I love that group. You know, I did this the other day before I ever even thought about coming on your podcast, because Adam Whitney asked me a question about, you know, hey, what are the things that 7FF brought you? So luckily I already have some of these written down. Number one has been networking. The you know, the access to these people that are the best and brightest. The collaboration's next level. It's family oriented. There's no secrets. You know, we have competing businesses in some instances. Like me and Adam work in the same area. If I call Adam at midnight and ask him a question that I might steal business from him, if you will, he doesn't hesitate. He gets on his computer and sends me what I need. So yeah, the networking has been next level. I think number 2 is the 500K challenge. This is from Bill Allen specifically. You know, the point of the challenge is to teach you how to raise private capital, right? But for me, it was so much more than that. You know, yes, I did raise money, but I got out of my shell. You know that we did real estate for 6 years before I really even told anybody we did real estate.
What is the 500K challenge? Like raise 500K?
Yep. It's Bill Allen's class on how to raise private capital.
Yeah, he's the master at that for sure.
And that's the point of the course, right? But I got more of it. I got something else out of it. Yes, I raised money. I ended up raising $260,000, and then I had another $300,000 in verbal commits that have not, you know, actually committed yet. But you continue to follow up on those. But that wasn't the purpose for me. For me, it was I talked about my business for the first time. I used to hide my business from people because I didn't want people to, you know, I don't know. I didn't want to come off as bragging. I didn't want to come off as somebody who thought they had it all figured out, right?
Yeah.
This got me out of that shell. It got me confident talking about what we're doing and the impact we're having. You know, Bill talks about it. For every flip, we impact like 100 different people.
Yep.
It's crazy. If you actually write it out, the amount of people that are affected, you know, whether they're making money, you know, earning business, we're revitalizing neighborhoods. We're, you know, the HOAs are happy because they got, you know, that person moved out and we got the property cleaned up, right? Everybody's happy. So the 500K challenge was more about me coming out of my shell and talking about my business. So I talk about my business anywhere I go now. It also led to me hiring an acquisitions manager. She does my off-market appointments, and she's amazing. And it all came from those videos. So I don't think it costs a lot. I think the 500K challenge is like a $30 subscription. It's something, maybe it's $300. It doesn't matter. My point is it's worth every penny. If you've never done the 500K challenge, it's definitely worth it.
Yeah, I actually should look into that because I think I maybe mentioned this to you earlier. I'm like, I got to raise some money, dude. I'm going to try to raise it to my Instagram story. I think I'm going to have success, but we're going to see.
Well, these are my 4 keys to what 7FF brought to me, and that was number 2. And I did put these in order. Okay, number 3 is systems and processes. I'm a pretty smart guy. I was a sergeant major in the military. I did run operations. I could have figured it out. It would have probably took me about 2 to 4 years to figure out, how to run an intentional business.
Yeah.
But with 7FF, they sped things up to about 6 to 12 months. Because you're not recreating their will. You're taking what somebody has and you're making it your own.
Yeah.
So the systems and processes was, because remember, before 2024, technically I did this as a hobby.
Yeah.
We were doing it, but it was technically a hobby. In October of 24 is when we decided to do this full time as a business, as I was starting to retire from the military. And that's when I joined 7FF. And if you think you can just go from hobby to business, it doesn't work that way. It is completely different. It would have took me 2 to 4 years to really get rolling. And here we are, less than 12 months, and we're doing pretty well.
Yeah.
And I think the last thing I want to point out was, tied back to my childhood that I brought up at the beginning, is my belief system. I never doubted my own competence, but I did struggle with the belief that being successful or wealthy was somehow bad.
Yeah.
This is where Bill really helped me. This is like the real start of my of this part of my mindset journey. Bill helped me break through that mindset. He reminded me that our talents and abilities are gifts from God, and we're meant to use them to better other people's lives.
Yeah.
Being rich doesn't make you a bad person. There's bad poor people. There's bad rich people, right? So the truth is, who you are, is who you are. It's not about what resources you have. Yeah. In fact, good people with a lot of resources have a bigger platform to help others. And I think that's word for word what Bill told me, and it was it really was like, okay, let's do this. Let's go full steam ahead.
Yeah. And the way that I look at money is, I think it's an amplifier. If you're a good person with money, you can do a lot more than a good person without money. If
For sure.
you're a bad person with money, you can do a lot more negative as well. It's just like, it's almost the exact same thing as taking leverage on a deal. If it's a bad deal, it turns into a terrible deal. If it's a great deal, it looks even better, man. Really similar thing with money. I think the tough part is, like, the more money that you make, the easier it is to stop looking at it as a tool and start looking at it as an idol. And that, I think, becomes part of the struggle. It's definitely something that I struggle with. Not saying I'm like made out of money or anything, but it is easy to like put that on the pedestal rather than using it to lift up whatever should be on that pedestal, right?
So that's one of the things I do in my coaching sessions. Usually when I first start out with somebody, we spend a lot of time on vivid vision and then their why statement. Like, why are you doing this? You'll typically hear people say stuff like, well, I want to make $1 million a year. It's okay, cool, but why?
Yeah.
But why? But why? You keep asking why, you start getting to the core of why they do what they do, and it's usually something much simpler. Real quick, I'll just tell you what mine is.
Yeah.
And you might laugh at me, but my why is to go see my grandkids whenever I want. And you probably laugh because I don't have grandkids yet. But this is my why, right? So my brothers growing up, once we all went off, one lived in Nevada, one lived in Texas, one lived in Missouri, and then I lived in Florida. And watching my dad struggle to go see, the different grandkids across the United States, he just couldn't do it. One, he was still working, remember, because you got to work till you're 63 before you can retire, right? So he was that mindset, and he physically couldn't be there, and then he didn't have the money to be there because, he'd be flying all over the United States.
Yeah.
So I have 3 boys myself. So I saw that, and I thought, if my 3 boys spread out across the United States and I'm lucky enough that they give me grandkids, I want to be able to go to a birthday party or to a football game or whatever I want. That's how wealthy I need to be, right? So then we decided, well, what number is that? So me and my wife sat down and we wrote that number down. We feel like if we made this much a month in passive income, we could accomplish this goal. And if you do it that way, you're going to find out you don't need to make as much as you think. Our number's not that high.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you're not chasing these arbitrary numbers that don't mean anything, whether it's 100 doors or $1 million a year. is that really what you were going for? And that ties back to the psychology of money. That book I talked about. In there, he talks about the freedom triangle. And in that triangle, you have money at the top, and then at the bottom left and bottom right, you have time and flexibility. And what I typically find in my coaching sessions, people don't want money, they want time and flexibility. But what happens is they get so focused at the top of that triangle, they actually get stuck at the top of the triangle. And they never actually reach what they were trying to reach, which was, flexibility and time and mobility.
Yeah. And then if they reach whatever that, money goal is, they get to it and then they're like, "Whoa!"
They raise it.
Yeah, they raise
it every time
because it's not.
Now I want to make $2 million. Yeah, but if it's anchored to your why,
yeah,
which is almost always, I don't know anybody except for Elon Musk. I'm going to give him a caveat, but I don't know anybody whose why isn't to have more time and mobility.
Yeah.
Everybody I talk to, that's what they actually want. Yes, you need money to get there, but what happens is they get so focused at the top of the triangle that they never actually, they get further and further away from what their actual goal was. I made the joke about Elon Musk. It's not really a joke. Like his why statement. You know what his why statement is, right?
No, but I want to hear it. To get to
put
Mars,
people on,
right?
To put humans on Mars.
Yeah.
Right. So even though Elon Musk is the richest man in world history, he still works. I mean, he's got to work 22, 23 hours a day. He runs 2 or 3 different billion-dollar companies. At one point, he was running Doge all at the same time. The guy has, so.
Yeah, he's
why is that okay? Because he wasn't after, time and mobility. His why statement was put somebody on Mars, and that requires him to work 22 hours a day. That's great for Elon Musk. That's not what I want. I want to go see my grandkids.
Yeah, I love that, man. It's funny. The very first business I ever started was financial coaching. I still have a software that I now give real estate coaches. It's all like fully white label as a platform that they can use, make their own, put all their resources on there and stuff. But it's just so funny because all the stuff that you're saying now are things that I haven't really talked with anyone about in a while. And it's just bringing flashbacks of like when I was 20 years old, asking people like, why do you want to do this? You said you want to pay down your debt. Why though? Why do you want to do that? It's kind of cool. And yeah, I think it's awesome that you're doing that. I agree with pretty much everything you're saying. And I do find it fascinating how fast people move without thinking about why they're moving, if that makes sense. How willing people are to do the work, to show work long hours, do all these things, take all these risks, but how little time they spend thinking about the reason that they're doing these things and if it really lines up with what it is that they're actually, like, what they really want.
And I respect that. I even find it courageous. However, I can tell you from experience, they're going to burn out. It's going to fall apart. And that's why I think it's got to be, anchored to your why. It just has to be, or it's not going to last. And remember, what's the only proven investing strategy, right? Consistency over time. So we have to have systems and processes that can be repeatable and that you can consistently do over time without burning out.
Yep. So one of the things that I've really appreciated watching about your business, there are some terms that are slung around in the real estate space that I hate. One of them that I absolutely hate is, oh, we're going to throw lipstick on the pig and make 50K. I hate it when people say that. It kind of implies that we don't want to give someone buying a house, like we don't actually care about putting something together good for them. Like we're just trying to make a quick buck. That's like when somebody tells me that, I'm like, oh, okay, you're just out for the money. But I also hear people all the time in real estate say, oh, like, hey, I'm serving other people. Like, this is like God's will for my life. I'm helping other people out. And that's really cheap talk. But when it comes to actually doing these things, I know that you are actually doing some of these things because I've seen it. And my question for you would be like, what does that look like running a real estate investing business where you're doing things to actually serve others and put people in a good position, in particular, like homeowners, both on the buying side and selling it to someone buying a home? Like, what are some of the things you're doing that's maybe not the most profitable, but helps you sleep better at night?
Yeah, I think, well, first of all, profits matter, but I think people matter more. Um, Now, I will also want to acknowledge that I'm fortunate enough in life that I'm not living month to month, that it allows me to do this stuff. So I don't want anybody to think that their techniques are wrong or bad, because if you're just trying to put food on the table, that's your technique. It's not what I do. Um, I can tell you sometimes the right thing for the sellers is not the most profitable thing for me, and I'm okay with that. Man, we've done everything from we almost always help the sellers, right? Because most of the people who reach out to us are in really bad situations. I would say 80% of our distressed sellers had a close death in the family, which led to depression, which led to hoarding, which led to this feeling that they're trapped. It's very, very sad. I think a lot of people judge these people. They're not trashy. They're simply depressed. I mean, they lost their husband, their daughter, their son. We've seen it all, and they start hoarding in the depression, and then they feel trapped. I mean, that's the cycle. So we'll typically, tell these sellers, hey, you don't need to do anything. We will take care of everything. So my guys probably hate me for this, because my workers, but yeah, we end up typically cleaning out their houses. And my guys go through a lot of stuff. I'm very thankful for my guys. We've had this last house, the one at Mountain. I don't know if you saw the video of they were cleaning up the living room. There was a snake under a book in the living room, right? So like these guys deal with some crazy stuff, but it's for the benefit of the seller. That seller just needed to get out of there. We got her out of there. We got her into a where she wanted to be. And then we start cleaning out their house. For buyers, we almost always provide closing assistance. We typically offer it right off the bat. It's hard to buy a house right now, right? And closing assistance helps people, right? That's usually what you see is people have good credit, but they don't have the down payment, or they have the down payment and don't have good credit, right? So that's where we could use seller financing to help that second party, right?
Yeah.
And then we make sure we're doing good quality renovations. I had this talk with people, and some people disagree with me, but you can put 80-cent LVP in if you want, and I'm not saying you're wrong, but I want my buyers to know that in 2 years their floors are still going to be there. And those floors, if you look at the label, I think they even say on the label they only last 3 to 5 years. We already have a generation who doesn't believe in the American dream of owning a home, and we're just making it worse by doing them that disservice. That once they spend all this money to buy a house, and then 3 years later it's falling apart. It's just not.
Yep.
It's not the route we want to go, right? Because I think reputation compounds faster than money. Right, I really do believe that. I think, we try to take care of all the parties, and that's important to me. It's part of my vivid vision. It's part of my why statement. Actually, about 2 weeks ago, I got the whole crew together and delivered my vivid vision to the crew, because I wanted them to understand why I had them doing some of these tasks that suck for them. I wanted them to understand how we're helping the seller, and I hope it got through to them.
Yeah. I remember one particular tough call that I had to make. This is on my first flip. We ended up losing about 20 grand on it. And it was a little thing, but my contractor was like, hey man, like I didn't quote you insurance, or not insurance. He definitely did not quote me insurance. He said, I didn't quote you insulation, but like we're in here and like it's fine. Like probably nothing would show up on the inspection report. Like it's not an issue. They could close it, but they're just not going to have an insulated house. And it was like, I don't know, $1,000, $2,000, dude. I was freaking broke from that deal, man. And just remember, like, I just don't want to sell someone a house that's not good. Like, I lost money on it, and we try to be as scrappy and cheap as possible. But at the same time, like, I was proud of that little $350K, 800 square foot house. I was like, this is a nice home for somebody. Like, this is nice, man. At that price point, anybody's trying to just buy their first house, whatever. But it was one of those things that kind of stuck with me. And it's a huge pet peeve. I get like pretty irritated when I just hear all the people they don't care, man. And I do think
I agree.
It's really tough, and it does create some negative sentiment. There's actually a lady in Pinellas County. She supposedly has reported over 200 homes for either illegal Airbnb or unpermitted work. And I personally have, I know of 2 friends offhand who got slapped with it. And I know, like, she's notorious. Code enforcement with the city knows her. Like, oh, yeah, we know her. But in my mind, the narrative of why that's happening, I don't know if anything of this is true, but I'm like, I bet that she saved up for a house for like 5 years, bought this house from a fix and flipper, and everything looked great. And 1 year in, all this stuff was breaking. It was unpermitted. And I bet she's just on a vendetta from that and is like, I will make sure this doesn't happen to other people. Now, obviously, I don't know that's true. It's probably not. But in my mind, I'm like, I think that's it, man.
I would agree with you. I could totally see that line of, that line playing out.
Yeah. So real quick, we're getting towards the end of our show. I know we've chatted about your book a little bit, but tell me specifically, what is the Deliberate Mindset about? And it hasn't been released yet, correct?
That's correct. We're looking at probably April of next year, which is intentional, right? I'm making sure that I take my time on it. Sometimes when I put my mind to something, I'll get it done real fast, but it's not the way I wanted. This book's important to me. The driving factor behind it is I've lost more friends than I did in combat. So the whole context of the book comes from, if the brain is powerful enough to take down a Green Beret, then the opposite must be true. That same brain must be powerful enough to rebuild, to focus, to create, to thrive. And that's what drove me to write this book, Deliberate Mindset, right? Which is part of the Deliberate Blueprint. I do have a vision of Deliberate Mindset being book 1, followed by a series of books that maybe goes into deliberate business that will come later. But I think I said this earlier in the podcast, is I don't think you can have a business if you don't have your mindset correct, right? So square one is having a deliberate mindset. It's a lot of personal stories in there. Techniques I've used to help change my thought process. I'd say the second inspiration comes from a quote from Tony Robbins, and he said, "We don't experience life; we experience the life we focus on." So again, tying back to earlier in the show when I talk about, I had 4 stepdads, or is it, lucky me, I got 4 different perspectives on how to be a dad. You can reframe everything. You don't always control the input, but you always control the output. So life is happening around you, but you can deliberately control how you react to it. And that's what the book's about.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, I'm looking forward to picking it up when it comes out too. Maybe I'll get one of those first editions so that I can be the guy who finds a typo on page 13 at the bottom, right? And circle it.
Yeah, for sure. That's actually a real thing. I think you picked 50 people. And by the way, I hired a coach. I think that's important. I'm going to throw that in there again. So I've never wrote a book. So yeah, I hired a coach. And we meet twice a month and we go over the chapters and where I'm at. And I'm making sure I'm doing this right.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. I hope you're enjoying the episode so far. As a quick reminder, if you want to connect with me and chat about doing some fix and flip or ground up construction deals together, Message me on Instagram at Jared Does Hard Money or find me on Facebook and we'll get together. Now, back to the show. So let's move into some of the exit questions here before we wrap up. I know both of us have businesses we need to get back to.
Yeah.
What's one habit or quality that you think has been absolutely essential for your success?
Oh man, I think you're setting me up for a spike here. I'm gonna go with deliberate mindset. I just said it. You can't really. Real estate can be tough, and if you don't have the right mindset, you are going to struggle.
Agreed. There are some low lows in this business. That's for sure. So after mindset, you'd mentioned then it gets into systems and processes. For you personally in your business, what's a specific system, tool, software that's made a big difference in your business, say over the last 6 to 12 months?
We actually talk about this a lot. Adam Whitney says it a lot. It's not about which software you use, it's which one you use consistently, right? So I'm not saying this is the best. I know there's better out there, but we chose Slack to do our project management. We accompanied that with Google Drive, and using those two together to manage my projects as we grew and started doing 4 or 5 at a time. Man, it's been nice. We have all our information nicely organized. My whole team can see it. There's links to Google Drive, whether it's our design plans or our budget. Everything is linked. It takes about 12 minutes to set up. I use AI to assist me in setting it up. And we have a really nice renovation flow. There's things that happen, like my entire crew got COVID about 14 days ago. So things happen still, but for the most part, our renovation systems and processes are pretty squared away.
That's awesome, man. My system and process for reno is partner with someone who has that down and give them half the deal.
Hey, I'm your guy. Systems and processes is definitely me all day.
How about this one? What does your morning routine look like?
Man, I enjoy going on a walk. I have not been doing it as much lately since I moved to Texas about 7 weeks ago, and that life change has thrown my schedule off. But within the last 2 weeks, I've gotten back to doing my walk. I am reading through the Bible, one of the 365-day,
Nice.
Bible apps. So I'll listen to that. And when I'm done with that, believe it or not, I take out ChatGPT and I like to have a conversation while I walk with ChatGPT about what's going on in my life and really just reflecting and taking the time to prepare my day for what needs to get done, right? So I'll go over my task. I go over how I'm feeling about things, and it's just nice to get away, see the sunrise, and prep my mind for the day's work.
We had I'm not doing it this year, but last year I did the Bible in a Year plan and would always listen to it on my morning walks. It's like the perfect amount of time. One day is it's like a 10-minute thing. There's an Andrew Huberman has put out a bunch of stuff. You listen to that guy's stuff ever? He's like a neuroscientist or something, very focused on the brain, but he was posting a lot of stuff about how good for you a morning walk is, like getting natural light in the morning and getting your heart rate up just a little bit. It's honestly I feel so off if I don't go for a morning walk. It's insane. Even now on Pacific time and my business is Eastern time, I don't care. I have to go for a morning walk, and my dog really has to go for a morning walk. She's crazy otherwise.
Whatever that routine is for you, you should keep it, right? Yeah. Some people wake up and journal. Some people wake up and do yoga. It's yes. I think your brain needs that in the morning to prepare for the day.
Agreed. When you look back at the end of your day, how do you know if you had a successful day or not?
So I've been reframing my mind. Remember, I would argue that every day is successful. Back to his quote, we don't experience life, we experience life we focus on. And I can guarantee you there's not a day that, especially at where I'm at in my life now, there's nothing. I seeing my kids, I can find something successful in my life every day. So I would actually argue that every day is successful because it's another opportunity. It's another yeah, I still have problems. I don't want you to think that, but it's not what my focus is. My focus is all the good that's going on in my life.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. They say, I listened to a video recently. It was really cool, but it was this musician guy, and he was like, "Hey man, everyone would always ask me, how did you know it was God's will for you to be a musician?" He's like, "What do you mean it's not? Like, if I get in a car accident and I can't play anymore, like, God's will for my life is over." It's like the Bible only really mentions specifically a few times what your will is, or what God's will for your life is specifically. And one of them is rejoice always, pray continually, give thanks in all circumstances. Like, boom, you do that, man, that's a successful day.
For sure.
When you look back on your life, how do you know if you've led a successful life or not?
Man, that's a tough one.
I also don't have a great answer for this question for my own life personally, if that makes you feel better.
No, I mean, Jesus is the first thing that came to my mind, right? So obviously I'll never be Jesus. But I think I want to strive to love people the way Jesus did.
Yeah.
Now I will tell you, God gave me two major challenges with this goal. Is He made me really blunt, and he gave me a mean looking face, right? What's funny is, like, deep down, I'm actually really caring, and I truly want everyone to win, but my body language doesn't always say that. But I just wish they knew in my heart that, that's what I really want for everybody. I truly, truly do. So I want to be remembered, someone who loved. I wanted the best for others, and I want to use God's gifts that He gave me to elevate others. I think, that's my definition of a successful life.
I love it, man. Last question for you, and it's a two-parter. Are you where you want to be in your life currently? And if not, what's keeping you from reaching where you want to be, or who it is you want to become?
So yes, well, let's just say we're close. And what I mean by that is, if our goal wasn't to go see our grandkids whenever we want, we would be there, right? But we don't have grandkids yet. We are well on track to retire again in 8 years, which is when my 10-year-old turns 18, and then we're able to travel. Because right now my kids are so busy anyway, we couldn't travel or go anywhere. We have a different event every single day. So, but yes, I think we are, on track. What's keeping me is where my kids are right now, right in their life. They're in a life where they're super busy, and I'm super active being a dad. I'm not complaining about that. I'm perfectly happy with it. But our business is on track to retire again in 8 years, and we will have met our goal of I don't have to work, and if we want to go see our grandkids anytime, anywhere, we can do it.
I love that, man. Two real quick things before we wrap up the show. So when your book comes out in April, how do people buy it? And then part 2 to that is, since you are doing coaching, if someone wants to have a conversation with you about that, wants to seriously invest in their real estate business and in their mindset, where do people go for both of those things?
Yeah, so for the book, it'll be sold on Amazon. We will probably do an audio book as well, because to include me, I like to listen to books as I walk. But right now the plan is Amazon. I'll let you know if that changes. As far as the coaching, there's 2 ways, right? You can join the 7FF community, where I'm already a coach, and my coaching's covered under your subscription with 7FF. Or I can do private coaching with you. You would just need to reach out to me through email, Facebook, Instagram, any of the 3. I'm pretty responsive. I have 3 different packages I offer people. And one of those packages is kind of what you talked about, where I almost become a partner, and I will hold your hand and walk you through start to finish. I don't know many people who do this, but instead of just giving you videos or some blank worksheets, I do it with you / for you. I literally can walk you through start to finish. And it's easy for me because I've done it so many times and I have the systems and processes. It doesn't feel like extra work for me. I'm already doing it, if that makes sense. So, yeah, just reach out to me and I can send you our packages and I do fill up. You know, I, I have several people I'm coaching right now. So I would say act fast. That would be the next thing I'd say.
Awesome, man. Well, appreciate you joining the show. This was awesome. Awesome to learn more about your journey. And there's so much knowledge and takeaways for somebody to pull out of this. So I appreciate you coming on. I'm excited for this one to come out. And I'm sure we'll continue to do deals together as well. So I'm looking forward to that always.
For sure, man. Thanks for having me.
You got it, man. Have a good one. Thank you all for tuning in to this episode of the Lever Up Your Life podcast. I trust that you'll take and apply at least one word of wisdom so you too can lever up your life. In fact, what I'd like you to do is share in the comments the single best piece of advice you got from this episode. If you want to make sure to catch the next episode, please subscribe and hit that notification bell. If you'd like to see previously recorded episodes, you can head to my channel at Jared Does Hard Money or find our episodes on any major podcast distribution platform. If you know of anyone who you feel would make for a great guest for this podcast, let us know about them in the comments and we'll reach out. With that, we'll catch you for the next episode of the Lever Up Your Life podcast.